This is the Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
As you know, for several years now, we've had Harry Fitzgerald as part of the team. Well, that runs out on Friday.
He's gone on to bigger and better
you know
things.
what?
Yeah, he's rejecting us.
For years, we've been calling Harry a tall drink of water. And little did I realise, after not seeing all of his brothers, that he's a tall glass of tap water.
Yes.
We've got some bottled water here.
Yes, we've gone top shelf Fitzgerald.
He's good. He's good.
So
Give us the introduction,
why don't you
Harry.
introduce our guest?
Welcome to the show, Leo Fitzgerald, younger brother.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Also in the background, Kathy Fitzgerald.
Kathy Fitzgerald brought in her mini quiches.
The mother, who's also very tall.
Yeah. Also, Kath, I know that Harry leaves on Friday, but your quiches are never leaving the building. We do know that you're just not that
Just
far
drop
away.
them round quite frequently. Thank
Now,
you.
Harry, what's the reason why your brothers come in? Because we were pretty intrigued by his story.
Well, it's always a fascinating chat around
It
the
is.
whole world of below deck
Yes.
and the super wealth.
Yeah.
But Leo's been living this life for the last 6 months or so.
I have, yes. I've been working on a super yacht over in the Mediterranean. And, living my below deck dreams.
So, a super yacht is something that we could only ever be able to go. I think that we could go on there quickly and have a look and get straight back off.
Yeah, that's
What
right.
is it like living on a super yacht?
It's not as glamorous as it seems.
Really?
All the crew areas are pretty average.
tight?
Very small bedrooms.
You're sharing?
Yes, I'm in a cabin with 3 people.
Three, and
Yes.
I'm guessing that they're as small as those bunks that we see on below deck, yes?
Yep.
Like the
smaller.
width of your body, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
That's
it
about
seems
it.
like when you're working, you're really working. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
flat
when you're
out.
on deck, you're flat out all the time.
So what is your role? Do you have what's your actual title?
My title is deckhand.
Yes.
So basically
Sometimes
maintaining...
deckhead.
Yeah, call him. Yeah, absolutely. Just maintaining the exterior of the boat, making sure everything's clean, looks nice for the boss.
So you're literally just polishing things a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you know when the owner's coming aboard? Because you work for a private owner in this case.
It's not a rental. People can't.
Is it
hire
a
that.
case
Yeah.
where you've got to have it absolutely gleaming because you don't know when this cat's going to turn up?
Yeah, all the time. You just got to have everything perfect. Whether, there's areas that is never going to go.
Yeah.
But you still got to make sure they're polished, ready, looking beautiful.
But this owner is always on board.
Oh, is he?
So it's
He doesn't leave.
It's a tough situation
Oh my
in
God!
this
Because
case.
this is the
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Because
Hear the
usually
stories.
they're never there.
Yeah.
They're never there. So basically, like when
This
the owner
guy's
comes,
actually
they're
using
intruding
his
into your
super yacht.
home.
Yeah, he lives on board. So
But
we
when
don't
he
need
wants
to
to go to town, he what does he do, Leo?
He flies his helicopter, so he gets his chopper to come pick him up.
Of course you will.
I find it hard to get parking for my helicopter, that's why I never use it. That's
Amazing.
insane.
So what's the boat worth? Do we know?
$120 million US.
And how long is it, Leo?
86 metres.
86
that's massive.
metres.
Yeah, it's huge.
And the propulsion system is so unnecessary.
Yeah, it's got a Rolls Royce jet plane engine in the back.
How fast? What speed could you get up to if it chose to?
Top speed of 36 knots.
What's that in kilometres?
Oh, that's flying, mate.
About 70 kilometres.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
that's
quick.
flying,
It's
though.
pretty
Yeah.
quick, yeah.
So that would
pretty
take
quick.
you about 15 minutes, 16 minutes to get over to Rodo on a ship that size.
Yeah.
A ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Leo, working and living on this place, do you get to see the boss or the owner often, and can you interact with him normally?
We do see a lot of the boss. Interaction, not so much.
So don't look him in the eye kind of deal?
Yeah, I'd try and say good morning to him every time.
Yes. Do
Only
you
got to
curtsy?
reply once.
Oh, really?
Only once, yeah.
Wow.
So
Every
he
day.
doesn't even see people.
No, he doesn't.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're just so rich. He's so rich you don't see people of a certain price. That's insane.
And how many staff members?
We've got 28 crew on board.
28!
Yeah.
And most don't get a reply from him.
The people
The
who are a bit more
higher
higher
upwards,
up to,
yeah.
but just me as a deckhand, no.
Any hot chicks on board?
There's a couple.
Okay, so like on below deck,
Delicately
we see a lot
asking.
of people using their decks.
Amongst the crew,
is there a
like
lot
you're
of
hooking up, that kind of thing?
Yep.
Have you hooked up with a fellow?
Not personally, not yet,
okay.
at least.
I mean, you got someone in your sights.
Can't be easy when you're in a single bunk. Like it's
No, I mean, people find
Yes.
a way around it. Like,
Sure.
I'll be on night shift and I'll go into one of the back rooms down the engine room and
There's-
find a few people that aren't really working.
oh, gotcha.
Oh my God!
Say no more.
This, you know, what the dream would be for this guy that lives on the boat all the time for suddenly a helicopter to come in, and then his age-appropriate daughter gets off, and then sees you.
Oh,
and
the
then you
super
can lock
wealthy
it.
one,
and
yeah.
then you become involved with his daughter. Does he have a daughter?
He does, but
No.
not of age.
Great.
Leo, you're talking about going around the Mediterranean on this boat and working on it and stuff like that. What parts of the Mediterranean have you seen, and do you get to pull into any ports?
And how much time do you get
and
to
go out there?
explore?
Yeah, so we don't really get any days off, so that's a bit hard, but we kind of get nights off, so we get to, if we're ported in Monaco, we'll get to go explore the town, go out, have a few beers, but unfortunately have to work the next day.
So
Yeah,
is there a time that you have to be back before the tender goes back to the boat?
Yeah, so I do like tender runs, last one's at like 1am.
What did you
Take
miss
it
the
back.
last tender run?
You're stuffed. I think
You just
might
get
be
on a
fireable
plane home.
offence.
Oh, it might be a fireable
Yeah, maybe.
offence.
Yeah.
Has anyone tried to take someone off the mainland back to the boat?
Not on my boat, but definitely heard
You'd
stories.
have to have a go, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, how impressive.
I know, but
But I mean, the tender of shame in the morning is tough.
not just that, and your two bunkmates.
Yeah.
They're in there as well. You asked a question before that you told him that you wanted him to answer it on air.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
I know now I want to be the answer.
Oh, okay. What was it again?
The tips and stuff.
tips.
Yes, because you work on private. We all watch Below Deck at the
Yep.
moment, and so you see some of those guests. They leave, and then they leave $20,000, $30,000, and I think, is this just jazzed up
Yeah,
for the TV? Because they've literally paid $300,000 US to be on there in the first place. How are they throwing up more money at you?
Yeah, that's absolutely real. So just kind of in the US, standard tip rate's like 10 to 15%. So if your charter costs $500,000, you
Yeah,
kind of
that's-
have to tip 50 grand, and then between
And then they just split
10
it up.
crew, $5
Yeah.
grand each.
Yeah, for a week.
Is the captain included in the tips?
Yeah, everyone's included.
Jeez. So what's the biggest tip that you've heard of?
Not sure about biggest, but I know Bill Gates came on my mate's boat.
Yes.
And he only tipped $4K each. Yeah.
Cheapskate.
know.
Gates, come
Absolute
on.
cheapskate.
Come on.
Come on.
Yeah.
So but you're not in the tip world because you're just employed by this guy because he doesn't rent it out.
Correct. Yeah.
Bummer.
So yeah, I work as hard and get not as much money
What
for
are
it.
your qualifications? Because people will be going, I want to do this. How did you get into it?
Yeah, so all you have to do is a course called STCW 95, which is your basic fire safety and training, and then you're good to go. That's it.
How does the course take?
5 days.
Oh.
Hello.
Okay, can you do that here or
Yeah, you
online?
can do it here. Yeah. Yeah,
Is there,
in person.
is there an agency?
Yeah.
just waving. She's going.
Yeah, Amy. Yeah. Stuff the kids. Alex, you got them.
Yeah.
We're away, mate.
And Mummy will see you in a year.
Leo, one of a mate of mine, Wally, he was doing it for literally 20 years. So he got a gig with this Russian oil tycoon,
Like an
and the guy
oligarch.
barely
Yeah.
came on the boat. But when he came on one particular time, he brought a family member on, which was his brother, and they used to sit there and watch the soccer, just watch the Euros all the time, and just smoke darts and have a few jars, and then they'd fly off. This one, his brother.
Did he not have a television anywhere else?
No, the guy, the owner's brother, fell into the water. I went for a swim, or either fell in or something, but he couldn't swim to save himself.
Yeah.
So my mate Wally jumped in and pulled him to the side, and that was it. They thought he was the duck's nuts, saved the brother's life, and then his job went from just working on the boat to overlooking security for this guy.
wow. Yeah,
And they
right.
sent him to South Africa, and he learned how to do what would you call it? Evasive driving through the streets
Yes.
of Cape
Yeah,
Town
yeah, wow.
when people are trying to
Like a
either be
Bond movie.
paparazzi or shoot at you. And he was employed with this guy for another 10 years doing
So what
this
we're
job.
saying, Leo, is push the
And get
guy
paid
off
a
and then
fortune.
jump in and save him.
And then save his life. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's right. Yeah,
Leo,
no pressure.
During your 6 months, what is the most obscenely wealthy thing, or the thing that you could not connect to the most that was happening in front of you, going, oh my God, this is another life?
Yeah, it's when you take your boss in on a boat that's worth like $2 million, and then you're parking it in Saint-Tropez, and then there's heaps of other boats worth that amount, and then they just go to restaurants, spend stupid amounts of money, and you're just like, I'm never gonna do this in my life.
No.
To experience such wealth, no one gets.
It's crazy,
I mean, you
isn't
don't
it?
get to do it.
It's another world.
the wealthy. I mean, this guy's probably comparative to Gina Reinhardt or something, wouldn't he be? In money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When do you get to?
Yeah.
When do you get to be around that?
Are
What
you
an
spewing-
amazing.
Yeah.
FIFO, they dip in and dip out, right? A lot of people say that. On Below Deck, we see people have been working this job for years. What's your plan?
Only a couple of years, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I can't do it for that long. Everyone's
Yeah.
too crazy on board.
But there are
Yeah.
people that have been on board your boat that's been there for years and years and
yeah,
years.
for sure. People get in and they're attracted to the money and they never leave.
And so where's the boat now?
It is
Somewhere.
Somewhere. I don't think I can answer that.
Okay, okay. It's somewhere. So they flew you back here for your holidays?
Yep, so they just fly you wherever you want to go in the world.
Amazing.
But I chose Perth.
But do they say where your hometown is and every time it changes?
Well, you went to Melbourne because I saw you in Melbourne a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. So I came visit Harry in Melbourne.
It's an amazing life. We've been so intrigued because we hear a lot about these stories and we see these boats on TV.
Yeah.
And to have the opportunity to work over there, be in the Mediterranean. I mean, obviously it'd be better if that owner was hardly on the boat because you hear those people, they don't even turn up.
No, that's right. That's right. You've come a long way from Rottnest Express. Well done.
Bit of an upgrade,
Can I say, this is amazing. This is the age to do it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, how old are you?
23.
23.
Yeah.
It's the age to do it.
So we're talking to people who have done rather extraordinary jobs when they were younger, inspired by Leo Fitzgerald, who's living the below-deck life on a super yacht. And that's when we met Craig. Hello, Craig.
Hey, how are you?
Good, buddy. Okay, what did you do?
Well, I started pretty young. I mean, I'm almost 50 now, but at the age of 20, I went on the QE2. And I worked up in the Penthouse Grill and the Queen's Grill there, and I met, endless stars and names. Rod Stewart, Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman.
Yes.
They were coming in with their dogs, you could take your dogs on board, and it was transatlantics, and it was the high life, So I started...
Wow, what a wild time that must have been.
Yeah.
So what was your role? You were a cook, were you?
No, I was actually just a waiter in the Penthouse Grill. But the guy you were mentioning, the 23-year-old, in terms of below deck, you've got 1,000 crew on board, and
you'd be getting it on all over the place.
Yeah. The crew bar every night was just packed. It was just crazy.
Yeah,
imagine that.
So I mean, you couldn't. I mean, we slept about 4 hours a day, and then 2 of those hours were after breakfast, and then you got back up for lunch, and then you try. If you weren't on afternoon teas, then you'd duck in, and if you were on teas, you'd try and sell the duty to someone else because you were so exhausted from the night before.
Selling your shift. That's so funny,
Craig.
And it just went on and on.
You stuck at this working on that boat in particular for a fair while. Did you move to other areas?
Oh no, I stayed on it I stayed with Cunard for 7 years. I opened the big Queen Elizabeth, and then the Queen Mary 2. I opened that as well. I became management, and I was running the butler side. So that's what got me into. Then I moved to Aspen on a ski resort, and I ran the private club on top of the mountain, and that's got endless. It's got 350 members. I did private parties for Rod Stewart was back in the house. Kenny Rogers. Kenny, I did a wedding at the base of the mountain, and like halfway through dinner, it was the owner of Pizza Hut.
What are they serving?
Craig, we've got to let you go, but what do you do now? What do you do now?
Oh, I do the same. I'm still doing for high-end people in Perth.
Wow. Can I just say...
so people like us.
Natalie and I talk about this all the time in the morning because I'll pull up some mega mansion here in Perth and I always go, oh, my God, the money that lives here in Perth. Is there so much obscene wealth in Perth that most people aren't even going to see?
Massive. I mean, if you got access, and I did, you mentioned her earlier, but don't mention
Gina.
her name now. I've just said it.
Yes.
Yep.
But the amount of hangars and the airports and what they've got in them is massive, and you wouldn't even know.
Yeah, amazing.
I mean, there's one guy here in town that bought 10 Bombardier jets at $85 million.
Oh! In town here, in Perth.
In town, in Perth here. Lovely guy. He bought 10 of these jets. He's the main guy who sells them and buys them and does whatever he wants. So, I mean, it's... so I got into a bit of that as well, trying to sell him the same jet that he was trying to sell everybody else at a better price.
It's the Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
Robert.
It's shark season.
It certainly is.
And here in Perth, we have a lot of sharks in the ocean, but none as well dressed as you, Robert.
Oh, well, of course not. I'm so excited you're calling me from Perth. I've never been to Perth. But I just bought a car from Perth.
Get out of town. What did you get?
What is it?
What is it, a Daewoo?
what did you guys think? What would you guys think I would buy?
Okay, I think for me, you are. I know how much you're worth, and I know that you are. You're very stylish. I think it's something with that rich people uppy doors.
I think it's a Bentley because you're a classy guy.
And I'm going to go with an Australian branded car, like an old school Monaro or something, a Holden brand.
Like a muscle car.
Who's
closest?
Oh my God! A muscle car, please. I'm a classy guy.
Well, you can get any other classic car anywhere else. What are you talking
Hey,
about?
Shaun, he's more of the. If he's a classic car, it's the driving Miss Daisy car.
Yes, because I'm 100 years old. No, I bought a Rolls Royce so I could drive my kids around.
So was it a vintage Rolls Royce? Why did it come from Perth?
No, it was a brand new Rolls Royce convertible, and I have to tell you, I didn't tell my wife, and then when it arrived, I said, "Oh, by the way, I bought a Rolls Royce so I could take the twins to school." She was so embarrassed. She was like, She said, "There's no way I'm taking a Rolls Royce to drop the kids off at school." And I said, "I don't care. I'll do it."
Oh, my God. She goes, "Instead, I'm taking the chopper."
I mean, hey, Robert, what did you buy? How did you get it from Perth? I don't understand. I mean, you could have bought one anywhere around the world, particularly, probably in your home state.
Well, my dad used to drive the freight trains that would take cars over from Perth to over east. Is that what happened?
Well, here's how ignorant I am. I bought the car, and I said, "Can I have it here by Friday?" It was Wednesday.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, "Do you have any idea how far Perth is?" No.
Well, if they drive it all night, they'll get here in time.
Might put some case in the clock, though.
Really flog that thing across the Nullarbor.
Hey, Robert, we get to see you, obviously, on Shark Tank. That's why we're speaking to you at the moment. I was watching the opportunity. You've done this before, but some of these opportunities that you come across, do you just like your eyes light up and think, "No, I'm going to make another 100 million out of this"?
Well, I hope I make more than 100 million, but I love the idea. What's amazing is I've actually been doing the show for 21 years.
Wow.
You can believe it.
Yeah.
I started in Canada. We still do it in America. And now we're doing the Australian version. So exciting. But it's incredible, the ingenuity and the innovation that people come up with. You would think after 20 years, I would say, I've seen it all. But every year, people come up with stuff, and I'm like, wow, why didn't I think of that?
The way I watch you guys, because you're using your personal money, and that's the thing that's great about this show.
That's right.
Because you're on a TV show, but you've got a personal stake in there. It's in your bank account. So $30 million you've invested over this series around the world. What is the return on $30 million? Like, have you made... Was there any big mistakes there? Like, have you made a good profit out of that $30 million investment?
Yeah, I think I actually have the best record of any of the sharks around the world.
Really?
The problem is, in the early days, it was hard to get her money out. Like, I own a stock company in Boston.
Yeah.
They're not going to go public or that kind of stuff. But we made some mistakes early on, just like any investor. One of the biggest mistakes I made was investing with Mark Cuban.
Oh, really?
Why? What happened?
Dallas Mavericks.
Well, yes. I mean, the guy's worth $7 billion, $6 billion, I don't know. And he has an incredible team that helps with the investment. But I've realized his tolerance for losing money is much higher than mine.
So it's like the people that drop 50 cents and don't pick it up.
Yeah.
Right. So I did this deal with him, and I let his team run it. We invested, and it was like $500,000 each. And a couple of months go by, and I call him and I say, "Mark, how's the investment going?" He's like, "Oh, it's a piece of crap. We're never going to get our money back."
What's the best thing, though, out of that 30 years that you've invested? What's the top shelf product?
I invested in a product called Tipsy Elves years ago. I bought, I think, 20% for a couple $100,000, and they'll do $160 million this year.
What is it?
Whoa.
What is it?
What is that product?
What is it?
It's inappropriate, ugly Christmas sweater. Can you imagine?
Oh, so Tipsy Elves. That's what you were saying.
Oh, sorry.
Elves,
Yeah,
okay.
You invested in that, and what is the profit?
160 million.
You are.
So that's what they're going to do this year. So, that's not the profit, but
Well done.
That's a great return.
Are you guys allowed to swear on the radio?
Well, sometimes.
Yeah, well, you know, when we were pushed to it by a rich person.
Robert, the other thing that's amazing about you is that probably the best investment that's happened to you as a result of being on Shark Tank is that you got to go on Dancing with the Stars and marry an Australian, and Kim Johnson, who is your dance partner. What a beautiful romance.
What a lucky guy I was. That was almost, that was over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And we've actually moved back to Australia. Kim is the best salesperson in the world. She talked me into moving back to Australia. And so now we live in Sydney full time.
What an amazing thing that your kids can watch the moment you met.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. It's all
How
documented.
cool is that?
Yeah,
That's
it's incredible.
pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's kind of odd because at school they had a day and they were talking about dancing. And so my kids told the teacher how we met, and they played the video for the entire class.
Oh, that's nice.
That's amazing.
Robert, how many years, how long have you been back in Australia then?
We've had a house here for over 5 years.
Oh, okay,
but
yep.
We've been here full time since January.
Yeah,
And
right.
I got to tell you, I love it.
Thank
I
you.
love everything about Australia.
You got to come over to Perth, mate. Hey, I want to know, is it really exciting for someone of your wealth when they get to Australia to look at their bank account on the ATM to see what it is in Australian?
Well, here's why I love Australia. In Australia, I'm actually a billionaire because of the exchange rate.
Yes, that's
Do
gold.
not step foot off this soil.
That's gold.
Yeah, I am not leaving this continent.
I tell you
because
what, I'm a millionaire
my
in
wealth
Vietnam too.
Yeah,
so
that's always
How much does your wealth drop if you step out of this country?
Oh, it goes down by at least, 30%? I can't afford that.
That's great.
Hey, Robert, earlier on you talked about Mark Cuban and, the fact that he's worth $7 billion. Is it interesting the fact that, you've got piles of money, obviously, but when you're in the realm of somebody like that and or many other billionaires that you would have met along the journey, the different levels across the world?
It's amazing. I think and that's the great thing about Shark Tank, everybody has the opportunity to make money that empowers your life, because money is freedom.
Yeah.
And I think once you get above a certain amount, and it's different for everybody, I think once you make 10, 20, 50 million, it doesn't really matter how much you have. It's what you're going to do with it and how it affects your life. I came from absolute sheer poverty. My dream in life was to make $1,000 for my age. So when I was 50, to make $50,000, buy a used Corvette, and maybe pay off my mortgage one day.
Okay, Rolls
And
Royce.
now you've got a convertible Rolls
That
Royce.
you bought without even looking at. Oh, I can't handle you. That is
So
amazing.
good.
So tonight's episode, if everyone wants to see what not to do on Shark Tank, watch the guy with the boxing bag.
Oh, the boxing bag. He didn't know his product at all.
Yeah, and there's actually a really interesting pitch tonight from a person that's made an accessory for an ebook reader, and it opens up the question of copyright and how people on Temu and stuff could copy things, and how you circumnavigate that. So it's really
that's
interesting
something Robert
episode.
gets involved in.
And Robert, we appreciate your time. Shark Tank Australia premieres tonight at 8:30 on Channel 10 and 10 Play.
Robert,
It's
we
a
would speak
pleasure.
to you every week if we can. You're amazing. You're bloody funny.
Thanks, Rob.
Well, thank you, guys, and congratulations. I hear you've been together for 15 years. Have you ever had an argument?
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time,
I've
nonstop.
literally done this whole interview with my foot on Shaun's throat.
Love your work, Robert.
See you,
Thanks,
Robert.
mate.
Yeah.
Who's the richest out of the three of you? I'm just curious.
Probably Nathan. Probably Nathan.
Shaun has 4,000 children, mate.
Yeah, I'll get bled dry every day of the
Yeah,
week.
exactly. We've got a bloody breeder here. That's what the problem
I
is.
spend all mine going on holidays. Thanks, Robert.
Yeah, come over sometime. We'll have a money
Pleasure,
fight.
guys.
It's the Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
We're going to hit the roads right now, guys.
All right, mate.
Safely?
Yeah, well, safely. We used to have a go at you, remember? When the laws about, like talking on your phone first came in, you were very lapsed with that. Now you're not, because the Mazdas are fully connected.
Yeah, that's
Fully
right.
connected, yeah, come
Fully
on.
connected. But there has, the police have come out and talked about demerit points.
Yeah.
Ready? Australia's worst ever driver has racked up 1,606 demerit points in just 4 months. enough to lose his licence 123 times.
That's a lot.
With $114,000 in fines.
So you get 12 demerit points. So he's just racked them up until they could actually put it together and go.
So
"Oh,
what
you lost your
happens is
licence."
the
And he
police
kept-
don't
Yep.
show in real time what's happening with fines and demerits and stuff like that. So as he's accumulating
Yes.
them, when he's getting pulled over again and again and again,
Yep.
they don't have any reference.
Yes, until they've issued the
yes.
tickets, because you know how there's the offence, but you don't get the ticket till later.
Oh,
later on,
absolutely. Know that part.
Yeah, so he
Is
committed
that right, Shaun?
355 offences in a 4-month period between December 2023
300?
and April 2024, averaged out at more than 3 every day.
They would have given him the ticket, but they couldn't catch him.
Yeah.
Oh my God! It's a roadrunner.
Did he pay the fines? I hear you ask.
Well, of course.
No, Shaun. He fled the country because he was a Frenchman.
I am Pepe Le Pew. Everyone should have a hobby, don't you think? Mine is making love.
Well,
And
and
speeding.
speeding. He fled the country.
Fled the country,
Or
Shaun.
went home.
No, fled. Fled.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if it's only here for 4.
No, I'm gonna go home now.
Just went home.
You usually tie up loose ends before we go home. This is insane. So it's not the only time that it's happened. It
So
happened
how much
to
in fines was it?
$114,484.
That's why they didn't tie up the loose ends.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. There was another French national. He
What are they
accumulated
doing?
553 demerit points before fleeing Australia when the authorities and the police computer system eventually caught up with him. Same thing.
Yes.
Suddenly they realised how many fines he had, and then he just took off. And the guy that lives in Sydney, like a Sydney bloke,
Yep.
racked up enough
Sydney
demerit points in one day till one day last June to lose his licence almost 11 times
In
over.
one day?
In one day. He was caught speeding 15 times,
In a
running
day?
red lights twice and unlawfully using his phone, earning him 141 demerit points.
I didn't know
as
you
it
lived
was-
in Sydney, Shaun.
It was a hotel weekend and double demerits were on place.
Yeah.
So, to be able
Just
to
wait
flee
till
the
the flight
country,
again.
though, have you ever known anyone to flee the country?
No, but that makes sense because you can't afford to pay those bills.
No.
So there's no other choice.
And you know you can get to the airport quick.
Yeah, the Uber driver would be like, "Oh, can you hurry up, mate? Come on, I know you can go faster than this."
I've never known. We've never spoken about anyone fleeing the country
No.
on this show. Bella is the newest member of our team.
Hello.
Oh no,
Hey, Bella.
now she knows Sam.
Second newest, yes.
Sam number 2
Now
is the newest
we're
member.
old hat with Bella, yeah.
Yeah,
Bella,
I've done this before.
fleeing the country. Know
Yes.
anyone?
Yeah, so I have a family friend who moved overseas probably like 40 years ago to avoid HECS.
So come over and did a
40 years
university
ago would have
degree.
been-
No,
No,
so he's
from
from here.
Oh, yes.
Like,
Oh.
grew up here, did
Racked up
uni
a
here and
HECS debt.
everything.
40
Racked up a
years
HECS
ago.
debt.
40 years ago, the HECS would have been $1,500.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was like, I'm not paying that, and left.
And
And,
left.
it still starts to accumulate.
Accumulate.
Like, it still
Yeah.
accumulates.
What would 40
So
years
as
of
long as he
interest?
doesn't pay tax
In Australia, you don't have to
he
pay
doesn't
it.
have to pay
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So wait, that's that.
Does your degree and your degree is still your degree?
yes.
Yeah.
How much does does that increase over 40 years? Do you think?
Well, it's indexed to
CPI,
inflation.
isn't it?
So for a long time, it didn't go up. I remember last year when all of a sudden inflation caused it to go up, and everybody lost their minds because all of a sudden the HECS debt was significantly more. So yeah,
Should be 3% a year.
if you have no intention of paying it, then it doesn't matter.
Reminds me of when you were younger and we're all members of video stores, like
Yes.
Blockbuster or whatever, and then you would rack up a lot of fines.
And
back
you
then,
fled the
and back then
country.
it would be like 30. No, but you would flee your suburb.
You would.
So then you would once you started burning all of them, and then you would just go out to a next suburb. You'd be living in Northbridge and your video store would be Midland.
Yeah.
And when they look at your address, you have to lie and say why you're there. Like,
Oh, yeah, my girlfriend.
My
lives in
girlfriend
there.
lives there.
And they said, "Girlfriend, really?"
yeah. What's his name?
We're talking about fleeing the country. Casey's in Bayswater. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Casey.
Casey. Who fled the country?
Myself.
Okay.
I came back home to Australia
Oh,
from England.
Okay, so what happened?
I got hit by a car crossing the road in England, and the girl tried to sue me for the damage to her car.
What? What?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so did the cops
I
come?
got the letters in the mail, and I just ignored them because I knew I was coming home.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was from her lawyers, but did the police
Yeah.
investigate and then they have anything against you?
The police interviewed me and everything, but after that first interview, I never heard anything from them.
Okay,
So-
can you run us through how you got
The
hit by the
actual
car?
accident,
Give
yeah.
us what happened. Go.
I was crossing the road. I just didn't see the car, and I went over the car, broke my arm and leg.
Oh. So was it a crosswalk, or you just walked out into traffic?
Yeah, well, it wasn't an official crosswalk. No, I was just walking across the pub where Christmas party.
So it was your fault.
No, I didn't see the car, but I wasn't even drunk. I don't drink. Never drunk in my life.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So what was her car? Do you remember what it was?
It was a yellow car. I know that much.
A yellow car. And that's a safety
how did
colour.
you not see it?
That's a safety colour. You should really see
I
that.
saw it, but it seemed really far away. But then all of a sudden, it's not.
So
sure
wouldn't your insurance cover that? Someone,
if you had insurance, yes. But if you don't have insurance, I mean, do they have third-party stuff over there?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, but are you really do you have to really fix your yellow car?
Well, I know. Okay, so you've just run over someone, right?
No, they've gone over the top of your yellow car.
Yeah, well,
you've hit someone.
You've hit someone. Do you feel sorry for the person or for your car? Because clearly they're just thinking.
I mean, you want to make sure the person's all right.
Yeah, and then you go, okay, but you've got to pay for this.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it wasn't my
if somebody
fault.
just steps out in front of you and you hit them, that is that is their fault.
It is, but it just seems really bad to sue someone after you've hit them with your car. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh yeah, there's a dent on my car. Oh, well, imagine being hit by it. Even though there's a right and a wrong, it just doesn't seem right.
Yes,
it doesn't seem polite.
Thanks, Casey.
But the answer is obviously just to flee the country. Thanks, Casey. Emma's in Pearsall. Hello.
Hi, how you going?
Hi, Emma.
Now, talk to us about your dad fled the country.
Yes, he did back in the 70s after he took my mum to court to try and get maintenance of his 4 children, i.e. me as well.
Yeah.
He decided, oh bugger, I'm not going to pay maintenance on all 4 children.
Yes.
So he fled the country. We later found out years later that he went to New Zealand.
Yes.
And then 16 years later, he waited, because I was the youngest, I am the youngest child.
Yeah.
He waited until I was 16, and then he contacted us all, because once you turned 16 back then, you didn't have to pay maintenance.
Yeah.
So he then contacted us and said, hey, do you want to have a relationship together? And,
what was your answer?
Oh, I said no, I wasn't interested at all.
Did any of your siblings say yes?
The older 2 did, because they were older. When,
they would have remembered him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. But we all still think he's weird. And so
and not great with responsibility.
No, exactly. So he stayed in New Zealand for a while, and then, but again, up until the 16 years, and then he moved over to New South Wales and lived there.
How much money do they say it takes to raise a child? Is it $1 million for each child or something?
Do you know how much the court ordered him that he was supposed to be paying, Emma?
I don't.
You don't know.
I think they're saying it's $1 million to raise a child from that to adult. So I mean, really, he saved $4 million.
And maintenance is tied into your income, so it would depend on how much he made.
Yes,
but. Yeah, I mean, he's a deadbeat dad, is what he is. Let's call it what it is.
And then 16 on the
he
dot.
He fled the country, and then as soon as he wasn't financially responsible,
do you reckon he put an alert in his phone?
Yeah.
Oh,
so in that time, Emma, no birthday presents, no Christmas presents, nothing, no contact until you turn 16.
No, nothing whatsoever.
That's not great.
Wow.
Fathers, don't do that.
Yeah, don't.
Don't.
Be like Shaun and pay for everything.
That's right, everything.
Nathan, Nat and Shaun is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcasts.com.au. Nova.